Hi there, Ron Shera here for Star Bank. If you're putting your money into mega banks down the street, who knows where that money's being used? It's time to make the switch. Bank locally. Keep your money local with a community bank that actually cares about you, your family, your business, and your goals. Let me give you some advice from personal experience. Check out the bank we use at Minnesota Bound. Try Minnesota's own Star Bank. You can find them online at starbank.net. When you call Star Bank, you actually hear a real living person answering the phone. Star Bank has 10 convenient locations around Minnesota to serve you and all the mobile banking products that you need to manage your money. From Maple Lake to Elbow Lake, Eagle Bend to Eden Prairie. Check out all that Star Bank has to offer at starbank.net.
Hey everybody, Bill Shirk, the man about the woods. I am down in the Shirk bunker in the downstairs part of the house, aka the basement where my office is, and with all this stay home stuff that's been happening this spring, I joked the other day, it's starting to look like a college dorm room with old empty cans of Diet Coke and paper stacked up and empty plates and all that, but it's become a very comfortable place to work. But now that the weather is starting to warm up, I've been outside more and working on my prairie project. And that's really kind of what today's episode of Minnesota Bound, the stories behind the stories, is all about. Here at the house, I have few acres, and I'm trying to practice what I preach in the TV shows about trying to clean up our water and get our landscape back to what it used to look like with natives. And it's funny because when you look past the Prairie Project, just out to the west a little bit, there's this greenhouse that sits there. And it's a guy and a gal and a buddy with this greenhouse, and they do some business, and it turns out they're in the business of trying to take Minnesota back in time. And that's why my partners in crime today are Rob Langer and Bill Bartodziej, the proprietors of Natural Shore Technologies and the owners of a really cool greenhouse. Hey guys, how are you?
Hey,
We're
Bill.
doing well, Bill.
We're doing good.
Thanks for the invite to join you virtually.
Yeah, absolutely. Were you guys out working today?
I was.
We were.
We did a couple of site visits. We met a couple of potential clients on Lotus Lake and then also Red Rock Lake in Eden Prairie. So people are getting excited. There's no doubt about it.
So in that greenhouse, you guys are growing thousands and thousands of native plants native to Minnesota. And you guys, you do a lot of things as a business, but as the name of the company, Natural Shore Technologies, says, you guys do a lot of lakeshore restoration. What are you doing, and why are you doing it?
You want to take that one, Bill?
Sure. I'll just give you our general approach to shore restoration. Really, the crux of that approach involves introducing a diversity of Minnesota native plants, and oftentimes in urban shoreline areas, there are not many native plants still existing on shorelines. They're highly degraded. So we go in, do a site assessment, look at the shoreline, determine what it needs. Putting in that diversity of native plants stabilizes the shore, and this really works to reduce erosion and preserve water quality in that lake system. And these plants are really a base or a foundation for high quality habitat that is essential for fish, wildlife, and pollinators. It's really essential and is key in having that biological diversity along that system. And we do this. Go ahead.
I was going to say, as Minnesota has grown over the years, just to give people some idea of kind of what we're talking about here, we've developed. So lakes that used to be out in the middle of nowhere are now surrounded with houses and development. And instead of cattails and arrowroot and everything else, we've gotten rid of that stuff so we can have nice little sandy beaches or rock wall landscaping with our dock systems. Our sloughs that the ducks used to hang out, we've filled those in to, develop property or to expand our agricultural fields, and we have greatly impacted our state as far as the wildlife and the water quality. And so the work you guys are doing is trying to sort of take us back in time a little bit.
Yeah, definitely it is. And like I said, most of our work is done in the metro area. And overall, people have kind of brought that tidy European lawn ethic all the way down to the lakeshore. And this is really bad news in doing that type of land management so close to the shoreline. And over the last decade or two, people are really starting to catch on that, hey, wait a minute, we can't do this. This is really harming our aquatic systems. And that's kind of where we come in is we get the phone call, talk to the people about the condition of their shoreline, their objectives, and what they want to do to improve it. So we kind of help them along with that process.
So you guys do the work. Let's jump ahead. So you do the assessment. They say, yep, we want you to do some work, or a community gives you grant money to get something done. What do? Do you plant plants? Do you somehow stabilize the banks to prevent erosion? Like, what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish?
Well, there's a variety of goals, and you nailed a couple of them. Oftentimes, we're dealing with shorelines that are experiencing erosion. So we're looking at introducing plants to stabilize the shore and looking at different what is called bioengineering techniques, ways to put in those plants so they take root and expand and are successful in that shore stabilization. So, we're looking at improving the quality of shore in terms of reducing erosion, creating really great habitat, and also doing it in a way that is aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, it looks beautiful,
So,
right?
Yeah. A lot of times we have an opportunity to put in a really nice diversity of wildflowers. So, along with those shore stabilizing plants, we could put in some really cool wildflowers that are beautiful to look at, and we have flowering occurring during different periods of the season, which the clients just love.
And I think people used to look at that stuff and at one point refer to all of it as weeds, right? Like junk, and we got rid of it at one point. But
yeah, no doubt about it. And still, that's an issue today, but I think it's becoming better. People are becoming educated and realizing that this natural, sometimes people think it's messy look is beneficial. And it's kind of a hard sell, but I think we're really making progress in the state, and that education that a variety of groups are doing is working.
I think it's really funny. When we moved to our piece of property, I had a lot of buckthorn, which is just awful, gnarly stuff. And you cut it down and it comes right back, and you just have to wage war to get rid of it. Have a neighbor to the south of us who just removed like 3 acres worth of buckthorn. Buckthorn is a non-native that somebody in the 1800s brought from overseas to the United States to landscape with. they thought buckthorn when it bloomed was pretty, so they started putting it in gardens, and it just took over.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's the sort of stuff that happens, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's one species that with our projects, we often go in and control and really have to keep on buckthorn because it will produce seed, and that seed bank sticks around for several years. So we're getting seedlings coming up in our restoration areas. So that's a nasty plant that we contend with. There are several other species that invasive weed species that we also maintain in our restoration sites. So that maintenance is really important in our projects, and I know that's something that you contend with, Bill, on an annual basis.
Yeah, I was going to say the list becomes long, right? It seems like there are 5
Sure
or
does.
10, but there are hundreds, and they're all obnoxious, and they've all got nasty names associated with them.
You are correct.
Especially when I have a backpack sprayer on or my clippers. But is it, thinking about some of the numbers, right? They say that less than 1% of Minnesota's native prairies still exist. It's essentially all gone. And on the water side, I think Friends of the Mississippi had quoted not long ago that like 40% of Minnesota lakes are threatened. Is that a trend that we can turn around, or are we so far gone that we throw our hands up and say, I give up. Whatever happens, happens?
It's
Well,
I wouldn't be that pessimistic about it. I don't think you're it's a challenge, and there's a number of lake management, watershed management tools that we could use to improve our aquatic systems, and shore restoration, converting areas into prairie, large areas into prairie, reducing runoff, treating runoff from impervious surfaces. Cumulatively, all that management helps. So that number is pretty daunting, but there is definitely a positive side to that, in that we're learning how to mitigate those effects from development and agriculture. So I don't think it's a lost cause. Rob, do you agree?
I would agree. I think that we just have to keep doing whatever little things we can do to mitigate for the. We're always going to have development, and we're always going to be producing more, more housing and things. We just have to make sure we do things, smart and keep trying to come up with innovative ways to create more green space.
One of the big topics for me is using the natives as a filter for water. Minnesota Bound, we had done a series a few years back called Down the Drain, where we looked at how Minnesota water has been impacted. And yes, the duck sloughs are all gone because a lot of them have been filled in or are being farmed. We've got drain tile that moves water so quickly now compared to the way it used to move across our landscape. We've got development. We've got asphalt shingles. We've got so many more roads that water moves so differently. And when we started working on that series, we thought, how do we make the suburban house mom care? Right? Tough question.
Yep, it is.
And I'm not being facetious by asking that, but things are pretty good in the neighborhood by all accounts. But when you start realizing that the water coming into these community systems in its raw form has some permanent changes to it. There are chemicals
Absolutely.
that people have to work hard. You can look at Des Moines, Iowa, and use that as the example. They've had to build multi-million-dollar water treatment facilities because of all the runoff. And there are a couple of chemicals, specifically phosphorus and nitrogen, that are getting into the water systems. But the native plants act as a filter and can help cure some of that, right?
Absolutely. Yep. And I think, slowly people are realizing that, and it's becoming more common. We're seeing, as we drive around the metro area, thousands and thousands of rain gardens. A decade ago, those weren't out there. That didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
They're relatively common now, which is really a good sign. And the idea of managing water that falls on your property and not letting it go down the drain, I think that's really an important message, is, managing water on your property. And you could do that with shorelines too. These natural ice ridges that form. Some folks like to take that skid steer and knock those down. And
every year when they get pushed up, right?
Right. And that isn't the greatest thing to do, because they act as a natural buffer and hold back that surface water runoff. And that water infiltrates, and to a certain degree, you lose that nitrogen and phosphorus. It does have a filtering effect. So, that education is really important. And I think we're making headway. We're gaining.
There was legislation a few years back that was discussed where every piece of water would have to have a buffer around it. And I forget the numbers exactly, but the one that seems to stick is like 33 feet. If you have a buffer of grasses 33 feet wide, water that has all kinds of stuff in it can filter through that, and by the time it comes out the other end, it's going to be in much better shape. And I have always believed in that theory. It's funny, it goes back, I was a young journalist working in Madison, Wisconsin. And I got assigned to go do a story on a high school class. And in their classroom, they had 3 Rubbermaid bins that were all connected with tubing between them. And they would have the kids collect stormwater in their neighborhoods when it would rain. And the Rubbermaid bins, the first bin had like, I don't know, some aquatic plants in it. And the second was topsoil, and they were growing tomatoes. And the third one had sand and whatever was in it. And they would bring in the water samples, and they would pour it in one end, and they would test all the water that was filtering out the other end. And the water was clean. All the bad stuff was out of it. And
that's really cool.
And this was 3 Rubbermaid bins in a high school science class, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had actually attached that because
it definitely works. And
I was going to say we had attached that. There was a community that they were testing using.
Those plants in that natural buffer have very deep root systems.
Yes.
So, you're increasing the roughness of that area. So water has a really hard time making it straight away into the lake. So you're slowing that water down, and you're increasing infiltration because of those deep root systems. So there's channels in the soil that water could find its way into. So it is, essentially a natural filter right along your shoreline.
My guests today, Bill Bartodziej and Rob Langer of Natural Shore Technologies. Rob is a neighbor of mine, and we spend time drinking IPAs, walking through the prairie on hot summer nights. We're prairie geeks, self-titled and proud of it, looking at the good plants and the bad plants, and trying to manage the landscape, and that's really fun for me. Really challenging at times.
And now, Bill, it's at 6 feet apart.
Yes,
Correct?
exactly.
Oh, really?
So what are you going to do for a beer? Because I'm the one who always buys. So
I'm just going to have you have to sanitize all the beers you bring over from now on
I will wipe down the cans
with
with
whiskey.
bleach.
No,
But I do
I can't wait to
feel
walk the prairie with you.
I do feel like there is a movement that people are getting smarter. I mean, maybe it's because things are more dire. I don't know, but pollinators. You hear so much about pollinators now when, I don't know, 10 years ago, it felt like that wasn't on the radar for a lot of people. Are mindsets changing? Do you guys have any sense of that?
Well, I feel people are just being more and more informed, and with the internet and people just being more excited about outdoors and environmental stuff. I think they're they're just becoming more informed, and there's more advocates out there for the environment and for the pollinators now. There's a big push with the monarch butterflies. They've been tracking their progress here, and then all the way their migration all the way down to Mexico.
Yeah.
So you can go online and track where they are in their progress in their migration. There's all kinds of different pollinator groups out there that are looking at specific insects and how they're being impacted on with the lack of habitat and things like that. So there's a lot more information out there than there ever was just 2 years ago. So going on the internet and type in pollinators, and you're going to find 20 sites that can direct you to places where you can do things to help improve the microhabitat for pollinators in your own yard.
And you guys have a retail greenhouse, which is really intriguing to me. A lot of the plants you guys grow, people can go to your retail location and buy plants. What's been the pattern there? Have you seen over the years more people are interested, or they're buying more stuff, or they're more engaged when they come in? Is there any sort of pattern there you see?
We do see. We see anytime there's a Minnesota Bound, thing on episode on prairies or native plants, we get a huge influx of people that come in.
We had
but
$6
there
more
is
in sales today.
we do. We can go out to eat that night. No, we do. People are really engaged, and they're really, finding out that the native plants, serve a lot. They have, they're seeing their beauty now, and that they actually, even though, we talked about the messy kind of, the native plants aren't as, tidy as the cultivars are, but
Mm-hmm.
people are starting to see the beauty in that non-tidiness, and there's a lot of variety. We sell over 120 different varieties of native plants, so there's a lot of variety. There's a lot of blooming colors and bloom times. So with native plants, you can have blooming throughout the whole year. Throughout the whole growing season, with a lot of different interests and then also bringing in those pollinators that you wouldn't have with a lot of the plants that traditionally we've had in our yard. So depending on if people find stuff online, they come in and they're looking for it. And we have a group of people that are really passionate about native plants here. So probably our biggest problem here is that everybody talks too much, and they're so interested in telling what they know that we get a big line of people waiting to buy stuff, and we're engaged in conversation with clients about their own projects and stuff. So it's there's a lot of great resources around. But our little greenhouse here is a great place to come and learn about some of the natives that work in your own yard, just like your yard.
Slowly making progress. And the people who come in, are they buying plants because they're pretty, or are they buying because of the impact that plant has on the environment?
I
Or
think
are
they're
there other
doing both.
reasons? Okay.
No, I think that the word is out that native plants are where it's at, I think. So I think people come in and they're just, there's people that have done a ton of research and come in with a big long list of stuff they're looking for. And there's people that come in just driving by and, heard about this native plant thing and, want to learn a little bit more. So it's a whole range of, that people that are now interested, but I think that whole idea that the native plants, the weeds, those are just the weeds. That's kind of going away more than, we used to hear that a lot, years ago when we started, and we don't hear it as much. The people that are coming in are pretty well informed and come in, purposefully come in with an idea that they want to convert their lawn into more natural, pollinator friendly habitat. So, I think the PR that's going out there now, and the people that are really advocating for this, they're getting their message across, and I think it's been really helpful for us, and it's really helpful for the environment.
So what are you guys going to be working on this summer? Any fun projects? Any big ones we should know about?
Oh boy.
Lotus Lake obviously is at the heart of the western suburbs. I know that's a hot spot.
Well, let me look at my board here. We have about we start the season usually with this year we're starting the season with about 35 to 40 projects around the metro. We just basically we work to about the St. Croix. We have some projects on the St. Croix this year. Wow. We have some projects out in North Oaks area that are really exciting. North Oaks, Pleasant Lake area is really fun to work. They're a pretty progressive group of people that like to really keep the lake and the shoreline. They've preserved the shoreline around that whole lake. So it's really fun to work around there where there's no homes that go right up to the water's edge. So we can kind of preserve that shoreline. That's been a really fun project to work on. Bill, do you have anything that sticks into your mind for exciting project?
Seems like we always have a few really challenging shoreline slope sites on Lake Minnetonka.
Yeah. Where it drops straight off down 40 feet.
Yeah, that kind of may keep us up at night an hour or two, right. Thinking about design adaptations. But yeah, in all seriousness, those are fun projects because they really challenge us, and they are not ones that we take lightly. We put a lot of thought into those, so we definitely have a few of those lined up that will challenge us.
Do you guys ever have a chance to go back and celebrate your work a few years down the road, or are you so busy that you're just moving on to the next one?
We do talk about that. We talk about it every year that we're gonna take a little tour. Bill and I, and Bill and I have worked together for 20 some years, and we've done hundreds of projects, and a lot of times our maintenance people, we retain about 85% of all of our projects for maintenance that we've had since we started, and our maintenance people will come back with all kinds of stories and pictures of these sites and how beautiful they are. And Bill and I always talk about we need to do a tour somehow, go do a tour of these sites. And we don't get out to the sites as much as we should. But as a company we do, but Bill and I personally seem to be always on the front end of the projects and never get to go back and really enjoy them on the back end. So maybe in our retirement, we'll be able to go and enjoy the fruits of our labor. What do you think?
I would ask
think,
how
Bill?
close you are, Rob, but I don't want to stir the pot too much.
Yeah. Some days closer than others.
Yeah. Oftentimes we live through our clients. We'll get phone calls and say, "Oh, this looks amazing," and they're totally pumped about their projects. So that's fun. I mean, we don't get a chance to go out and see every site, but talking to the clients and hearing how much they enjoy it, that's very rewarding.
Well, when you see some of those natives take hold and start to grow and flourish, it is something to watch, especially all the other things that are associated with it, right? The critters, all the way from the bumblebees to the monarchs, all kinds of stuff. It's just
absolutely
fun to see success, even in small little chunks. So keep up the good fight.
The maintenance staff has, I see photos all the time of, baby fawns. They find baby, like a fawn laying down in these sites, or mallard nests, and it's all kinds of our Instagram. I see our projects through our Instagram account, really, but unfortunately, the maintenance staff does a really good job of those sites look good, and then they do document them really well and put them on social media, so we all get to see them that way.
So fun. Well, you are listening to the Minnesota Bound podcast, and these are the stories behind the stories. It's nice to sit down with you two and just chat a little bit. Of course, we have a lot of partners who help make this podcast happen every week. Our good friends at Rapala, Ice Castle Fish Houses, Star Bank, Hewitt Docks, and Connecticut Water. We appreciate all your support. These are important messages, and in changing times, native habitats are very important, especially as we continue to develop our state, I think. So, Rob and Bill, good luck to you guys in the future. Keep up the good fight.
Thanks so much, Bill.
Thanks for having us on.
We will walk the prairie real soon, and I will have cold beer for all of us as we make our way around.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bill.
Well, thanks everybody for listening to the Minnesota Bound podcast. We will be back here next week. In the meantime, get outside, have some fun, and don't forget, as always, to introduce a kid to the great outdoors. See you soon.
Hi there, Ron Shera here for Star Bank. If you're putting your money into mega banks down the street, who knows where that money's being used? It's time to make the switch. Bank locally. Keep your money local with a community bank that actually cares about you, your family, your business, and your goals. Let me give you some advice from personal experience. Check out the bank we use at Minnesota Bound. Try Minnesota's own Star Bank. You can find them online at starbank.net. When you call Star Bank, you actually hear a real living person answering the phone. Star Bank has 10 convenient locations around Minnesota to serve you and all the mobile banking products that you need to manage your money. From Maple Lake to Elbow Lake, Eagle Bend to Eden Prairie. Check out all that Star Bank has to offer at starbank.net.